Are you ready for chapter 5 in the book? I thought it was just me, but it isn't. Making the journey from What Will People Think to I Am Enough by Brene Brown. And we have our little guest sleeping next to me right here again. So at first, when I first looked at my notes from chapter 5, I was like, oh, there's not that much in it. And then I went back in the book, and there's so much in chapter 5. And it's all about reaching out. And in my opinion, that's probably the most challenging part of building our shame resilience, is reaching out. And so let's just go back to shame. And so according to Brene Brown, when we feel worthless, when we feel rejected, unworthy of belonging, we feel shame. So we might not know it as shame, but it is shame. And learning that the experiences that make us feel more alone are actually universal experiences. But at the same time, we feel alone when we're in that deep emotion. So then coming back to the thought, I am not alone, this happens to everybody, it will help you to move and build your resilience, because all of us are fighting hidden, silent battles of not being good enough, not having enough, or not belonging enough. And I think for a long time, I kept that hidden. That was really a part of me that was ashamed of feeling like I don't have enough connections with people. I don't have enough support. And then what does that say about me? What kind of person am I if I don't have enough connections? And this book kind of explained to me one of the reasons why I didn't have a lot of connections. It's because I was staying in the surface, because I was afraid of being different for a really long time, probably since I was a teenager. And I kind of never really outgrew that. Now I'm outgrowing it slowly. But we don't reach out to fix or to save others. We reach out to reinforce that connection. And when we are reaching out to somebody else and we build that connection, laughter is never behind. And I remember sharing something with a friend, and if you practice yoga, you know that usually you close with namaste. The light in me sees the light in each and every one of you. And as I was saying goodbye, I was like, the crazy in me sees and honors the crazy in you, because we had both shared stories that made us feel like we were crazy, but in reality, it was just part of being human. And I love the way that Brene Brown talks about laughter, and she calls it knowing laughter. And you're not laughing at me, you are laughing with me. And you're laughing at the irony that we think that we're alone because of some of these things that happened. And she talks about a definition by Anne Lamott that says that laughter is bubbling, effervescent form of holiness. Who doesn't love that? And so when we can laugh at it, we know that shame has given up on the grip that it used to hold on you. So once I can laugh about how crazy I was with an incident, then it's like, oh, it's not that bad. And it might take you a little bit longer to realize that, and that's okay too. And then we look into power and knowing that you do have the power to change things, even though it might seem impossible. So Brene talks about the 6 P's of ways of creating change, because when we can create change, that also creates empowerment for us. And so the 6 P's are personal, pen, so writing letters, polls, participation, so joining a group, purchase or not purchasing, and protest. And right now, the one I'm practicing the most is personal, because I do feel like it creates a ripple effect. So when I go and create connection with a person, then maybe she'll go and create connection with another person. Or when I change something about myself, the people around me might see that, and then they might go and make a change in themselves. And so little by little, we will be changing our society. We might not see it, but hopefully the next generation, our kids, will definitely see it. And then another super important point in this chapter is talking about how one of the main things that prevents us from practicing courage and compassion, and Brene Brown calls it insulating. To me, it's like creating walls, creating space. And so when we insulate, we are constantly overwhelmed with feelings of fear, blame, and disconnection. And so this creates an us versus them, an otherness. It's them, it's not me, it's them. And so she has a list in the book that I'll read to you. And so it says, so these are the lists. And she says that most of us can check off that there's somebody in our family that has one of these, or even us that have one of these. So addiction to alcohol, drugs, food, sex, relationships, any mental health diagnosis, depression, check, anxiety, sometimes eating disorders, bipolar, attention deficit, etc. Any stigmatized illness like a sexually transmitted disease, obesity, HIV, domestic violence, physical, emotional, or verbal, sexual assault, such as rape, marital rape, date rape, child abuse, physical, sexual, incest, neglect, emotional, suicide, violent death, criminal activity or incarceration, serious debt or bankruptcy, abortion, non-mainstream religious beliefs, check, poverty as a child, check, low educational attainment, so lacking basic literacy skills, dropout, etc., divorce. And so when you look at this list, you know we're all connected. And in the previous chapter, I talked about that common humanity. We are all one. Yeah, maybe I might not have had someone in my immediate family that's committed suicide, but I definitely have a bunch of those on that list. And to know that we are all suffering in one way or another brings us together and lets us know that we're all connected. And we all make mistakes. And so I invite you for this chapter to take a peek at that list and see what categories you have something in common with. And then also observing, if you do that, them versus us, Democrats versus Republicans, pro-life versus pro-choice. That's them, not me. And how does that create that separation? And then just right now, you can just be observing and seeing how that affects you. And then we can build that critical awareness, which I also talked about in the last chapter. So you can check out the last chapter if you missed that. And till next time, much love.